Greetings fellow tank commanders. In this video I'm going to be showing you a game that I played in the heavy metal hero FV305. This is a tier 8 British premium artillery with regular matchmaking. I'm really excited to show you this game because it is really quite epic, and it's going to allow me to give you a great review of this tank. The game I'm playing is a standard battle on South Coast with tier 9 as the top tier and 2 artillery on each team. For this game, my FV305 is equipped with a tank gun rammer, an enhanced gun laying drive, and improved ventilation. And I have supplied it with a small repair kit, small first aid kit, and pudding. These equipment pieces and consumables I have chosen specifically to enhance the gun performance to the max. I have chosen a pretty cheeky spot on the map to set up. It gives me a good vantage point that allows me to shoot over pretty much the entire map, or at least as far as my gun range allows me to. It was very easy for me to get in this position with the FV305. It's got 22.15 horsepower to ton ratio, which means you're going to be able to get up hills and rocky cliffs like this with ease. But it's also got a top speed of 68 kilometers per hour, which is just insane for an artillery tank, and it means that you're going to be able to reposition anywhere on the map in the late game, which just makes you that much more useful for your team. The one downside to its mobility though is its track traverse, which is only 18 degrees per second, which I have found to feel very sluggish, and makes it almost impossible to follow swarming enemies around you. So keep this in mind when you're repositioning with this tank, because you aren't going to be making any super sharp turns. Now you're going to notice very quickly in this game the potential and the limitations of the FV305's gun. It uses a 5.5 inch gun which has potential to deal 700 damage per shot. Now keep in mind this is average damage for a full penetration with an HE round, but realistically a direct hit on a tier 7 or 8 is going to deal about 200 to 400 damage. Which you may groan and say, oh, that's not a lot for an artillery to deal, especially when it doesn't have a lot of splash damage potential. But this thing has a devastating rate of fire, which is just frightening at these high tiers. It means you give the enemy hardly any breathing room in between shots to reposition and get out of your line of fire. And you can see how annoying it is for this E75. He is constantly taking damage and at risk of getting tracked. So keep in mind if you're in a tier 10 game that you might want to switch over to the premium HE rounds, just so that you have good potential to keep an enemy tracked. Because if you're tracking a tier 10 every 15 seconds, your teammates are just going to love you. Now look at the shell arc on this gun. That enemy light tank was in a fairly good position to hide from artillery, but with a gun arc like that, you have very few places on a map where you can hide from this tank. In a position like this, it's very easy to just look over to a different side of the map, and because of the great shell arc, you can look over almost any piece of terrain. And that's another easy hit, and I wasn't even fully aimed. But I'm comfortable with taking shots like that because I have a reload speed of 11.55. Now if you don't equip and supply your tank with the same options that I have, your reload speed will be about 14.5 seconds, but that is still a very forgiving rate of fire, and so you really don't have to hesitate about taking some speculative shots. The accuracy on this gun is 0.71, which is already pretty good. But when you consider how accurate it is on various terrains because of its great shell arc, it is extremely reliable. And with the loadout I've chosen for my FV305, my aim circle barely goes beyond the edges of most tanks. So I'm approaching a Reaper medal here because I destroyed the T29, the T71, and now this T37, all with consecutive shells. In just over 30 seconds I managed to destroy 3 enemy vehicles, which really helped change the battle here. When you're considering which targets to prioritize with a small caliber, it is usually worth it to go for the weak health targets, because changing that number balance can really help your teammates to just focus fire on other enemies, and your teammates will surely appreciate not having to focus on enemies with quarter health or less. Now usually one of the downsides to playing high tier artillery is the very slow reload time, but look how active I get to be in this game at tier 8. There's no long reload times or long aim times which make you tempted to look at your email or play some Angry Birds in between shots. The FV305 allows you to be super active in the game, which is very fun, and if you love playing artillery, you are not going to get bored of using this tank. You're also not going to be disappointed with the gun traverse arc. It's nothing extreme, but it still allows you to take great advantage of your high rate of fire, because with good tactical awareness, You shouldn't have to reposition too often with this tank, which means your aiming circle doesn't reset, and that means more reliable damage. One thing that you're going to have to get used to when using the FV305 is that your ammunition has slightly sluggish speed, which means you're going to have to take a little bit of time to get used to it, but it's really not that bad, and so it should only take you a few games to get in sync with your tank. I let out a gasp when I got hit by that IS-6 because wow, I got 5 hit points left. That is super lucky that he got a low damage roll and it allows me to escape. I'm cursing my tractor-verse here because even with the E-brake, I'm not able to turn very well. But once I got on the straight stretch, it was very easy to reposition. Now with speed like this, I could have gone pretty much to the other side of the map in just a few seconds. But I saw I had a Black Prince teammate fighting the IS-6 and an artillery piece that was still being threatened. So I wanted to stay close by so I could deal some reliable damage to that IS-6. Now this is the slight weakness of the FV305, that alpha damage is pretty low. I'm dealing just over 200 damage per shot, which means that our Black Prince is taking a beating here. But that slight disadvantage is not enough to take away the potential that this tank has. I'm able to wear this IS-6 down quite quickly, and I was fairly confident in every single shot that I was going to hit him because as you saw, my aim circle just surrounded his tank. So I would have had to have some bad RNG in order to miss a shot there. Now the main tank to compare this to is the FV304, which is the Tier 6 British Tech Tree artillery tank. And you may be wondering, well, how similar is this tank to it? It is very similar. Yes, there are a few differences, but the fundamentals remain the same. Great top speed and great horsepower to ton ratio, amazing rate of fire and accuracy, and overall just an awesomely exciting artillery tank to use. There are some differences because of the tier and the caliber size, but if you're a fan of the FV304, you're going to feel right at home in the FV305. Now all that's left in this game is the enemy artillery, which is a GW Panther, and I couldn't resist the urge here to go artillery hunting with this awesome speed. I'm going over 50 kilometers an hour while crashing through trees. But I'm actually petrified here because my hit point bar is so low that it looks like I'm already dead. And that means the GW Panther doesn't even have to hit close to me to destroy me. But it's just awesome to reposition to the other side of the map in under a minute when you're using a Tier 8 artillery piece. And there's the GW Panther we were looking for. I know I'm only going to get one shot at this, so I take my time to aim the shot, and it pays off. Just look how quickly that aimed to get me that reliable shot. Now let's check the post-game stats and see how I did. For this game, I made 112,000 silver, and that's without any multipliers. But it's important to note that I didn't have to pay for the pudding and tea, which would have costed 20,000 silver. But even when my reserves run out, I'm still going to be using it because it is definitely worth it. And I'm still unlikely to lose silver from it. I earned 3,599 experience with a 50% multiplier from the 2 for the show op. For this game, I dealt 3,945 damage, assisted with 281 damage, and destroyed 7 enemies. This earned me a Mastery Badge First Class, High Caliber, Top Gun, Reaper for destroying 3 enemies with consecutive shells, Ranger for destroying all enemy light tanks in the game, at least 3 of them, and the most important one, which is Gores medal, for driving an artillery and dealing 10 times your hit points in damage. That's a very decorated game for an artillery, and I am very happy with how the FV305 performed. I placed at the top of my team, earning a base XP of 1,499. As you can see, this little Tier 8 arty had a humongous impact on the game, and I was even able to considerably outperform the 2 Tier 9 artillery in the game. I fired 24 rounds this game, hit 16 of those, and penetrated 15. That's a lot of shells for an artillery piece to be firing in a short game, and that was only half the ammunition for this tank, and I'm quite happy with the reliability of the gun. In terms of crew and module damage this game, I damaged the ammo rack and injured the commander in the T-71, damaged the engine in the GW Panther, injured the driver in the AT-15, injured the commander in the RU-251, and injured the driver in the IS-6. I'm quite happy with those results for a small caliber gun. Now to answer the main question, is the FV305 worth getting? Absolutely yes. It offers an exciting artillery game style at a high tier, with decent damage potential and great reliability. Your speed gives you some epic potential for the late game. The slow shell velocity, short range, as well as the low penetration with low alpha damage leading to very small impacts per shot, take a little bit of time to get used to, but it is not something that you can overcome. And if you like artillery, you are going to just love this tank. Now the prices might be a little bit steep on these packages, but keep in mind that this is the only tier 8 premium artillery in the game, and it's got a 57.5 silver earning bonus. There are 4 options to buy the FV305 for the month of April 2017. You can get the Mega Bundle, which is 30,000 gold, which is very expensive, but you get all 3 heavy metal hero tanks at a great discount, and so if you have the gold to spend, I would highly recommend getting this bundle. But if you're looking to just fit this particular artillery game style into your garage, then there are 3 individual bundles which you can buy on April 21st, which range from 10,200 gold to 12,450. Now this is still very expensive for a tier 8 premium tank, but gosh, this tank is special to have in your garage if you like playing artillery, and it is definitely worth adding to your collection. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the epic potential of the FV305, and that this review will have brainwashed you into buying this heavy metal hero. Stay tuned for more awesome World of Tanks videos.